Kubernetes makes you feel stupid. Deployments, services, control planes, worker nodes. It's information overload. Forget the tech jargon for a second. What if I told you that Kubernetes architecture works exactly like managing a pizza franchise? Grab a mental marker because we are sketching this out. We're going to start by welcoming you to the pizza empire. Then we'll hit the head office control plane, check out the worker nodes, which are the local pizza branches, and look at scaling up with deployments and services. Finally, we'll clear up the whole Kubernetes versus Docker debate. Welcome to the pizza empire, or the Kubernetes cluster. A Kubernetes cluster is, at its core, just a group of machines working together to run apps inside containers. But think of this entire cluster as a massive national chain of pizza stores. The app we're trying to serve to the world, that's the pizza. And if you want to deliver thousands of pizzas, you can't just rely on one giant chaotic kitchen, right? You need a whole network of stores working in perfect sync. You've got your central head office making the big moves and all the local shops doing the actual baking. That synchronized network? Alright, so here's the deal with the control plane. It's the brain. It makes the decisions, assigns the tasks, and keeps the whole franchise running smoothly. But, and this is a big but, it doesn't actually cook the pizza. It just bosses everyone else around. Let's break down this sketch. First, the Kube API server. This is your call center. Every single request goes right through here. Customer orders a pizza. Shop manager needs a new oven. It all hits the API server. Then there's etcd. Think of this as the company's master notebook. It securely locks down all the critical data like receipts, rosters, and past orders. If the power completely dies, this notebook ensures the business wakes up knowing exactly where it left off. Next up, the Kube scheduler. This is the dispatcher. When a huge order comes in, the scheduler figures out exactly which pizza shop has the capacity to handle it right now. And finally, the Kube controller manager, our quality inspector. Always watching, always checking. If a shop goes totally offline, the inspector spots it immediately and gets things back on track. The call centers taking orders, the dispatchers routing them, and the inspectors watching like a hawk. But honestly, who is actually baking the pizza? That's worker nodes, the pizza branch. The worker node is where the real magic happens. This is your local branch filly out. They get the orders from headquarters and use their own local kitchen staff to get it done. And every single worker node relies on three main tools to pull this off. First is the kubelet. This is basically the local shop manager. The kubelet constantly checks if the kitchen staff are doing their jobs right and reports that status straight back to headquarters. Next, the kube proxy. Imagine an internal phone system or intercom for the branch. It ensures that network traffic, which in this case are those specific pizza orders, gets routed exactly to the right station in the kitchen. And finally, the container runtime. This is the kitchen itself, the literal stove and oven baking the pizza. It's the engine that actually runs your application. Let's zoom in even further, right down to the flour on the kitchen floor. In Kubernetes, the absolute smallest deployable piece of work is called a pod. On our sketched out blueprint here, a pod is simply a chef station. It could be one single chef making a standard cheese pizza, or maybe a tiny tight-knit team working together on something super complex. The vital thing to understand is that everyone inside a pod shares the same immediate workspace, the exact same ingredients, and the exact same tools. It's the core building block of the entire restaurant's output, which leads perfectly into scaling up deployments and services. So a deployment, that's your master staffing plan. Headquarters doesn't just ask for a pizza. They mandate that every single shop must absolutely always have exactly 3 chefs working the dinner rush. that is a deployment. It's an ironclad guarantee. If one chef calls in sick, or heaven forbid, a station catches fire, meaning a pod crashes, the deployment system automatically and instantly brings in a replacement to hit that magic number 3 again. It's how you scale up or down effortlessly, keeping the exact right number of pods alive and kicking. But think about it. With all these chef stations constantly spinning up or crashing, how does a customer actually place an order without it being a total nightmare? That is exactly what a service does. Think of a service as the front counter of the restaurant. Let's walk through the steps. Step 1. The customer calls the main front counter. They don't know or care about the individual chefs in the back. Step 2. The service, acting as that smart front counter, instantly forwards the call to a chef station, a pod that's actually available. Step 3. The chef cooks the order. If a pod suddenly dies, no problem. The service is smart enough to just route the very next customer to a healthy one. It completely shields the customer from the pure chaos happening back in the kitchen. Alright, the classic showdown, Kubernetes versus Docker. I love this visual comparison because it clears up a massive misconception instantly. People always talk like Docker and Kubernetes are in some kind of turf war, but they are literally on the same team. Over on the left, we've got Docker. Docker is just the oven. It's the specific container tech that physically runs the app and bakes the pizza. On the right, we have Kubernetes. Kubernetes is the restaurant manager. It does not bake the pizza, but it decides exactly how many ovens you need, where to put them, and who's staffing them. Docker runs the app, sure, but Kubernetes is the brain orchestrating how thousands of those Docker ovens work in total harmony across a massive franchise. And that really brings our whole whiteboard sketch together, right? The head office handles the grand strategy. The worker nodes run the boots on the ground branches. Deployments guarantee you've always got the right amount of chefs, and services give your customers one simple, permanent way to reach you. Like the sketch says, all these pieces work together to deliver hot, fresh pizza, or in our case, a scalable app. When you draw it all out like this, the scary, intimidating architecture of Kubernetes is really just a highly logical, ultra-efficient franchise business model. And that wraps up our whiteboard explainer for today. You've now got a complete visual blueprint of a Kubernetes cluster locked in. From the call center of the API server all the way down to the chef stations in your pods, you know exactly how the chain of command works. So I'm going to leave you with this one thought to chew on. Your infrastructure empire is built, your ovens are blazing hot, and your dispatchers are standing by. So what incredibly complex application are you going to scale next? Thanks so much for hanging out with me today. Keep on building, and I will catch you next time. If you found this helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and drop a comment if you have any questions. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.